Hello, and welcome to Soothing Pod's Sleep Stories. I am Arif, and tonight we will journey to the shadowed depths of the Underworld, where the god Hades prepares a special gift for Persephone's return. As he strolls with his loyal companion Cerberus, Hades seeks wisdom from Charon and the Fates, discovering the true meaning of love and understanding. Let this tender tale of devotion and connection lull you into a restful sleep. Before we begin our tale, let's take time to relax and let go of the stresses of the day. Close your eyes and take a slow, deep breath. Allow yourself to let go of any worries, any tension, and feel the air around you grow quiet, soft, and welcoming. You are about to embark on a journey to the ancient Greek underworld, a realm filled with a serene, timeless beauty. Imagine yourself standing at the entrance to this world, feeling a sense of calm anticipation. As you take your first steps, notice the gentle, misty air around you, almost like a soft blanket, enveloping you in a peaceful embrace. The ground beneath your feet is firm and cool, and with each step, you sink a little deeper into the serenity of this hidden realm. Around you, fields stretch out, filled with plants and flowers unlike any you've ever seen. The colors are deep and mysterious. A velvet black rose here, a midnight indigo lily there. These shades are darker than anything you've encountered before, yet they hold a rich, mesmerizing beauty. The plants sway softly as if welcoming you, their dark leaves glistening in the faint light that seems to emanate from the land itself. Feel the profound stillness here, the way the air holds its breath, creating an atmosphere of utter tranquility. In this place, there is no hurry, no stress, just the quiet pulse of an ancient world. You are completely safe, surrounded by the gentle presence of the underworld, a world that holds centuries of wisdom and peace. As you walk, listen closely and hear the soft, whispering sounds of the plants and the distant murmur of a hidden stream. The gentle rustle of leaves and the faint sound of water create a natural harmony, like a lullaby meant just for you. In the distance, you see a grand mansion. It stands tall, its silhouette reminiscent of a Victorian house, with elegant towers and sweeping arches. The structure is both haunting and beautiful, a sanctuary nestled within the stillness of the underworld. You walk towards it, your steps echoing softly as you draw closer. As you approach, you notice intricate details etched into the mansion's walls, delicate patterns that seem to tell stories of old. The windows glow faintly, casting a warm, inviting light onto the dark ground below. You feel drawn to this place, as if it holds answers, and yet there is no urgency, only a gentle curiosity. Standing before the mansion, you take a moment to appreciate its presence, feeling an unexpected sense of comfort here. This world, with its dark shades and quiet grandeur, has shown you a beauty you hadn't anticipated. The underworld, you realize, is a place of deep peace, a realm of stillness where even the darkest colors hold a warm glow. And it is here, at this mysterious house, that our story begins. Hades stood on the balcony of his grand home, gazing out over the vast, shadowed landscape of the underworld. To the untrained eye, it might seem as if the underworld were painted only in blacks and grays, a muted world devoid of life. But he knew better. As his eyes softened, he saw the true colors hidden within the shadows, deep, velvety reds like embers in the distance, dark blues that whispered of midnight oceans, and greens so rich they seemed to pulse beneath the surface. It was a realm of color, subtle and secret, a beauty that revealed itself only to those who knew where to look. Normally, Hades found peace in these hues, a quiet pride in the way his world thrived in its own dark splendor. But today, it all felt dull, lacking the vibrancy it once held. The landscape seemed colder, quieter, as if waiting for something or someone. He sighed, feeling the weight of Persephone's absence settle over him. She had been gone all spring and summer, tending to the human realm, bringing life and warmth to fields and forests far above. Her laughter, her warmth, her presence, all of it was missing. Hades found himself counting the days until she would return. He turned and walked back into the house, crossing the dark marble floors toward his study. His calendar lay open on the polished desk. He leaned over it, smiling at the date marked with a small red flower. In just 1 week, she would return to him, and the thought filled him with a warm anticipation. I should give her something special, he murmured to himself. Something to show her just how much she's been missed. But what? He frowned thoughtfully, scanning the room as if the answer might reveal itself among his books or trinkets. It needed to be more than just a token, something meaningful, something that would remind her that this realm was hers too. Hades paced around his study, his thoughts spiraling as he tried to come up with the perfect gift. Frustrated, he sighed and rubbed his temples. Perhaps a walk will clear my mind, he muttered. There was something about the quiet shadows of the underworld that often brought him solace, and maybe even a spark of inspiration. he stepped outside into the stillness. A hint of a smile tugged at his lips as he called out, "Cerberus!" Almost instantly, there was the sound of thundering paws. Cerberus came bounding toward him with uncontained excitement. Each head wobbled with joy, tails wagging in unison. Hades crouched down, chuckling as he patted each head in turn. "There you are, my fierce guardian," he said, scratching behind one ear. "Ready for a walk?" Cerberus let out a playful bark, his 3 heads nudging Hades eagerly. "Come on then," he said, feeling a bit lighter. Together, they set off down the path, the soft glow of the river Styx lighting their way as Cerberus trotted happily by his side. As Hades and Cerberus strolled along the edge of the river Styx, the 3-headed dog began to prance around, his enormous paws kicking up bits of gravel. Hades watched him with a bemused smile as Cerberus bounded ahead, then turned back, each head looking at him expectantly. "What is it, old friend?" Hades asked, amused. Cerberus gave a trio of eager barks, his eyes full of excitement. Hades chuckled. "You want to play fetch, do you?" He scanned the ground until he spotted a sturdy, ancient branch lying nearby. Bending down, he picked it up and waved it before Cerberus. "All right then," Hades said, winding his arm back and sending the branch flying across the shadowy landscape. Cerberus took off after it, his paws thundering against the ground as he chased it down. In a flash, Cerberus reached the branch, all 3 heads snapping it up at once. He trotted back proudly, his tails wagging with joy. Then he deposited the branch at Hades' feet with a sense of accomplishment. "Good boy," Hades said, giving each head a gentle pat. He picked up the branch again, launching it even farther this time. Cerberus dashed after it, leaping with each bound, his joy evident in every movement. They continued like this for a while, until Hades accidentally threw the stick a little farther than he anticipated. Cerberus bolted after it, his tails wagging furiously as he dove into a bush. For a moment, all was silent. Then, with the rustling of branches, Cerberus re-emerged. But instead of the stick, he carried an old, battered helmet in his jaws. "Well, what have you found there?" Hades chuckled, crouching down as Cerberus trotted up proudly. Each of his heads held the helmet delicately, as if presenting a precious treasure. Hades took the helmet, turning it over in his hands and inspecting it. It was covered in dust and bore dents and scratches from battles long past. It was likely left behind by some wandering soul. Hades smirked, raising an eyebrow at Cerberus, So, this is your idea of a gift for Persephone, is it? A dirty old helmet? He chuckled, shaking his head as he gave Cerberus a fond pat. I appreciate your creativity, my friend, but I'm not sure she'd fancy it quite as much as you do. Cerberus tilted his head, giving Hades a puzzled look. The dog was sure he'd solved his master's dilemma. Hades laughed softly, his voice echoing through the quiet woods. Thank you for your good work, Cerberus. You're always helping in your own way. Hades set the helmet down gently against a nearby tree, giving it a final pat as he straightened up. All right, let's keep moving. There's still plenty of Underworld left to explore, and perhaps a more fitting gift to find. As they continued along the mist-laden path, Hades noticed a figure up ahead by the docks. It was Charon, patiently guiding his boat along the river Styx. At the sight of him, Cerberus perked up and took off, bounding ahead with tails wagging. Charon turned just in time to brace himself as Cerberus leapt up, greeting him with enthusiastic licks and nuzzles. The ferryman chuckled softly, his normally somber expression softening as he stroked one of Cerberus's heads. Easy there, Cerberus. You'll tip the boat over one of these days. Hades approached with a smile, watching his old friend and loyal companion. Ah, Charon, I didn't expect to see you out here. I hope Cerberus isn't pestering you too much. Not at all, Charon replied. He's good company in these shadowed lands. He brightens things up a bit, doesn't he? He gave Cerberus a final pat and straightened, his gaze drifting back to Hades. I hear Persephone will be returning soon? Yes, Hades replied, a hint of warmth in his voice. 1 week from today, to be precise. I thought I might find her a gift, something to welcome her back properly. But I've yet to find anything suitable. I don't suppose you have any ideas? Charon leaned on his staff thoughtfully, his eyes narrowing as he considered the question. That's a challenging one. Persephone deserves something unique, something as enchanting as she is. He tapped his staff lightly against the ground. You know, if it were me, I'd seek advice from the fates. They have a way of knowing things that even the rest of us do not. They might point you in the right direction. Hades nodded, mulling over Charon's suggestion. The fates were notoriously cryptic, but their wisdom was unmatched. If anyone could help him find something truly special, it would be them. Thank you, Charon, he said, a small smile playing on his lips. I suppose I'll pay them a visit. Perhaps they'll have a hint of inspiration for me. Charon inclined his head, a rare smile crossing his face. Good luck, my friend. If anyone can find something worthy of Persephone, it's you." With a nod of gratitude, Hades signaled to Cerberus, who obediently trotted back to his side. "Come along, Cerberus," he said, glancing back at Charon one last time. "The fates await." And with that, they turned away from the river and headed toward the shadowed paths that would lead them to the three sisters. Hades and Cerberus walked in silence, their footsteps softened by the thick mist that clung to the ground. The path had grown narrow, lined with twisted trees and darkened by shadows that seemed to stretch and coil, as if alive. They were deep in a secluded part of the underworld now, a place few dared to tread. Cerberus began to slow, his three heads lifting in unison, each one sniffing the air cautiously. Hades could feel it too. The power that lingered here was undeniable. He placed a reassuring hand on Cerberus's central head, whispering softly, "Easy, old friend. The fates mean us no harm." They continued forward, their forms nearly swallowed by the thick fog as they neared a small clearing. In the center, three shadowed figures stood, draped in robes that shimmered faintly in the dim light. "Good day, Fates," Hades greeted, his voice steady but soft, respectful of the power that radiated from the three figures. The Fates inclined their heads in unison, acknowledging his presence. Hades stepped closer to the first sister, Clotho, who sat at a small spinning wheel. Her slender fingers deftly wove threads into a delicate, shimmering tapestry. She was the youngest of the three, with a serene expression and eyes that sparkled like starlight. "Clotho," he greeted, his voice respectful. "I seek guidance in choosing a gift for Persephone, something worthy of her return." Clotho's fingers continued to move, the threads slipping through her hands as if they had a life of their own. "A gift, you say?" she murmured, her gaze fixed on the spinning thread. "Gifts woven from gold or gems hold little weight, for they are mere things. True gifts are woven from time, from love, from memories shared." She paused, lifting her eyes to meet his. "What you seek, Lord Hades, is something that cannot be bought. It must be spun from the moments you cherish, crafted from the heart." Hades nodded, her words settling over him like the soft mist that surrounded them. He felt the beginnings of an idea, a spark that had not been there before. Clotho returned to her weaving, the faint smile still gracing her lips as if she, too, sensed the path that lay ahead of him. Hades moved on to the second sister, Lachesis, who stood quietly beside a loom. Her fingers glided over a tapestry of countless threads, each one measured and cut with precise care. She glanced up as he approached, her eyes wise and unfathomable. "Lord Hades," Lachesis greeted, her voice calm and steady. "You come seeking a gift for Persephone, something that might measure up to your love for her." "Yes," Hades replied. "I want it to be worthy of her, something that speaks to who we are together." Lachesis smiled faintly, tracing the thread between her fingers. "Each life has its measure, its purpose, and its place," she said, speaking more to herself than to him. "You have more to offer than you realize, Hades. Think of what only you can give her. Measure your love not by what you buy, but by what you create." She looked at him then, her gaze penetrating. "A gift born from your own hands, woven from the memories you have shared and the dreams yet to come. Such a gift speaks louder than gold or jewels, for it carries within it the weight of both your past and your future." Hades felt the weight of her words, their depth resonating within him. The idea stirred and grew, becoming clearer. He knew now that the gift must reflect the journey they had walked together, the love that endured even as the seasons changed. Hades approached the third sister, Atropos, who sat upon a stone, ancient shears poised in her hands. As Hades met her eyes, he felt a profound respect for the power she held. Atropos, the ender of threads, was the one who knew the true value of time. She tilted her head, observing Hades with a keen look. "You wish to give Persephone a gift," she stated, her voice low and measured. "But remember, Hades, all things are fleeting. Even the moments you cherish with her are but threads in a greater tapestry." Hades nodded, listening intently. Atropos continued, "What is precious lies not in permanence, but in its ability to change and grow. Give her something that endures, yet remains in motion, something that can transform, as your love does, season after season." Her words sank into him. He understood then that his gift needed to be something alive, something that would bloom and fade and bloom again, something that would carry the essence of the life they shared together. Hades inclined his head, offering a deep, respectful bow to each of them. "Thank you," he murmured, his voice carrying the quiet weight of gratitude. "You've given me more than guidance. You've reminded me of what truly matters." With a newfound clarity, Hades left their dwelling, Cerberus trotting beside him. He now knew that the gift for Persephone must be something crafted from his own hands, something that would grow and change as they did. Hades and Cerberus wandered next to the Asphodel Meadows, a vast meadow of silvery grass where the souls of those who led quiet, unremarkable lives found eternal rest. Hades and his pet walked among them, feeling the soothing stillness of the field. He paused now and then to observe the gentle faces of the souls that moved nearby, their expressions serene and undisturbed. A few turned to him, acknowledging his presence with a faint, knowing smile. Hades nodded back, his heart warmed by the tranquility surrounding him. It struck him how this place, simple as it was, held a beauty uniquely its own. He knelt beside a patch of soft, pale flowers that seemed to glow faintly in the dim light, their petals delicate and still. His fingers brushed over them thoughtfully. What if he could create something similar for Persephone? A place where she could escape the endless tide of souls, the demands and weight of her responsibilities. Somewhere peaceful, where she could rest and simply be. Next, Hades and Cerberus wandered into the Elysian fields, a paradise reserved for the souls of heroes and the virtuous. Here, the world seemed to bloom, vibrant and full of life. Rolling meadows were dotted with wildflowers, and towering trees stretched their branches skyward. Cerberus sniffed about, his 3 heads weaving through the flowers. Hades chuckled softly, watching his companion frolic among the blooms. As he continued along the winding paths, he felt the peaceful energy of the Elysian fields settle over him, filling him with a sense of calm and inspiration. The thought of Persephone drifted into his mind. Here, surrounded by such beauty, he felt her presence more keenly than ever. It was this kind of beauty that she brought to the mortal world when she walked the earth in spring and summer, the way life seemed to flourish wherever she went. He thought of her gardens above, vibrant and green, bursting with color and life. Then the idea came to him. What if he could bring a piece of that life, that light, into the underworld for her? A place she could call her own, a space that would be alive with her favorite flowers, where she could find solace amidst their colors and fragrance, even in the darkest months. It would be his tribute to her, a reflection of the world she loved, right here beside him in the underworld. Hades smiled to himself, a plan beginning to form. He would create a garden, a living, growing space that would mirror the beauty of spring and summer above. It would be a piece of paradise just for her, where she could retreat, away from the bustle of her duties, a small sanctuary that would remind her of the world she missed and the life they shared together. Hades returned to his mansion, filled with purpose and a newfound excitement. He wasted no time, gathering seeds and plants he'd carefully collected over the years. rare blossoms that thrived in the underworld's unique soil, glowing flowers that Persephone had always admired. For days, he toiled tirelessly, shaping the space just as he imagined, a place of life and color amidst the shadowed landscape. Cerberus trotted by his side, eager to help. Hades smiled, watching his loyal friend dig holes for the plants with his powerful paws, each head carefully inspecting the work as they went. Together, they transformed the once bare corner of the grounds, creating a vibrant oasis that stood out like a splash of color in a world painted in blacks and grays. He arranged delicate flowers that glowed softly in the dim light, planted vines that would curl gracefully around the garden's stone arches, and placed a small fountain in the center. Everything was crafted with Persephone in mind, each element chosen to bring her joy, to remind her of the world above, where she brought life to all she touched. As he stepped back to admire his work, Hades felt a surge of satisfaction. The garden bloomed before him, a striking contrast to the muted tones of the underworld, a reflection of the warmth and light Persephone would soon bring back to his realm. He stood in quiet contemplation, his heart brimming with love. In a week's time, she would be here, her laughter filling the halls once more. And when she saw this, her own little piece of paradise, he knew it would bring her as much joy as she brought him. I hope you enjoyed the story, and it has brought you a night of peaceful, restful sleep. Please join me again tomorrow night for another sleep story. Until then, sweet dreams.